This individual that's joining us this morning is a dynamic educator, public administrator, humanitarian, more than 40 years of strategic leadership on the local, regional, and national stage, public servant, HBCU son, former head of St. Aug's.
Yeah, college president.
College president. He
has trained young people.
Several degrees from North Carolina A&T. Has served on various committees.
You got to shout out to St. Aug University Falcons. He's a Falcon.
Frequent speaker in areas of higher education, leadership development, and civic engagement. His research focus includes African American leadership and civic engagement. He was a member of the board of directors for the UNCF. And a ton of other things.
Yeah, Democratic National
Committee.
No question.
Welcome in, Brother Dr. Everett Ward.
Oh, wait,
Good
did
to
you
see
mention he's the 35th General President?
Yes, the past General President of Alpha Phi Alpha
of Alpha
fraternity.
Phi Alpha.
I was trying to downplay that.
The pride of our hearts, brother.
Yes. In our dear
A-Phi A. Yes. In the House of Alpha. This man was the leader of the House of Alpha. Welcome
in, man. Good to see you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be with you this morning, and can't think of a better place at this time in history when we are having to deal with one of the most critical elections in recent history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for your work, even with the channel, with Sirius XM 126, because you welcome back to Sirius, because you've been here before to talk about this issue.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Carr. And King, thank you for having me, and thank you for what you all are doing to keep our community enlightened with intellectual, substantive content.
Yes.
We thank you for that so much.
Thank you, Brother President.
Now, as you come to town, I know there are a number of things and initiatives that you're working on, one being the Alpha PAC, Political Action Committee, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to kick off when you were first brought to me, Brother Kevin. He was like, "Yeah, man, we got to talk about black men and voting," and Brother Ward is the best guy to do that. What is it that we aren't hearing, or what is it that we need to know with regards to black men and either apathy, hesitancy, or just overall non-participation in when it comes to voting?
Well, let me frame the discussion with something a professor of mine, Dr. Forrest Toms, told us, is that you have to seize the moment to define your own reality. First of all, I think the public and political strategy is to put into the public space that black men are not engaged politically. And that for some reason we have this form of apathy when it comes to political issues and political engagement. And I would challenge the narrative and the public discourse that is not true, but it's a political strategy to try to keep us from being involved in the political process. So I know when I travel the country, when I am with candidates across this country, black men are fully engaged. Now, one of the things I think we all have to do is make sure we are addressing issues that are relevant to the reality that not only black men are dealing with, but our community is dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And stop this political propaganda that black Americans want something different than other people. We want good education for our children.
That's right.
We want quality education. And when you have a candidate who is proposing to close and shut down the U.S. Department of Education, we understand what that means. And on the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Topeka, Kansas, we're having to even have a discussion about closing the Department of Education. Says our work is not finished. We want economic development in our communities. We do not want our children living in food deserts. So we want the same access and opportunities. We want safe communities. So we want elected officials and public officials who are there because of our vote to deal with issues that are critical to our community. And as black men, we have proven historically that we have always fought for justice, full citizenship, and economic opportunities through the political process. And let us not forget that it was this country who tried to keep us out of the political process.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the Civil War, Dr. Carr can tell you that one of the negotiating strategies was that we as black men had to be given the right to vote.
Yes, sir.
But what happened with that Rutherford B. Hayes compromise?
Yes, yes.
I'll let Dr. Carr continue to educate us on that.
No. We know we've been trying to claw those Reconstruction gains back for what now, Doc? Would you say 150 years? We've been trying to get that back.
That's exactly right.
Yes, sir.
That's exactly right.
Yes, sir. This is so important. I mean, Alpha, of course, as we know, for many years, and from the early years with the go to high school, go to college program, for which Phi Alpha is very, very, very famous. But in recent years, it was 2020. Right, that you all came together and got us all on board to create the Alpha PAC. And if memory serves me correctly, Senator Warnock was one of the early persons who were endorsed, and we know that battle with the runoff and everything. You know, what was the thinking behind you leading that creation of Phi Alpha Political Action Committee and the objectives? And then beyond that, Dr. Ward, what is the vision for really continuing to build and energize the group that I guess most people know as the Divine Nine in this kind of work?
Well, first, let me be very clear. As you all know, it was in the 1930s, under the leadership of such great scholars, Howard University former history chair, Dr. Rayford Logan and others, but more importantly, Brother Charles Hamilton Houston, when he was with the NAACP and traveled the South to document the closure of our schools and the need to have access to the political process through the ballot.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, it was the founding of the national program, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People.
Oh, yes.
Where we were actively engaged in having communities to register to vote, to be involved locally. And it was through our fraternity that this nonpartisan process was established. And so from 1930s until today, our fraternity has been very engaged in voter registration, voter education, voter mobilization in a nonpartisan way.
Yes, sir.
But what we understood was that the political landscape evolves and changes on a consistent basis. And so, in fact, we understood that as Black men, we have to be engaged with raising money, training a new generation of candidates to run for public office. And we knew that we needed to be free to do that in a way that speaks to issues and speaks to candidates that are pro our agenda or anti our agenda. So the Alpha PAC was formed by a group of men who said, we are going to invest our own money separate from the fraternity. We are not affiliated at all.
Yes, sir.
With Alpha Phi Alpha. We are a tax-exempt organization.
Yes.
Where we can raise money, endorse candidates. So it was that we recognized that when the right-wing conservatives were putting up candidates who may look like you physically, but their political ideology was not in keeping with our community. And so we decided that the first race we needed to be involved in was to make sure that we elected Senator Warnock to the United States Senate. So we raised money for his campaign. We put boots on the ground. I personally went down on several occasions and campaigned because we had to make two critical points. Number one, that as African American men, we understand the political process.
Mm.
And as one colleague of the PAC says, is money, machine, and message.
Money, machine, and
So
message.
that's what the Alpha PAC is all about. And since that time, we have endorsed and financially supported several candidates. So, for example, in this election, we were early endorsers and financially supported Vice President Kamala Harris once she was identified as the candidate for President of the United States, because we wanted to be very clear that she's the most qualified, but even more important, that we're going to put machine, money, and message behind our candidates.
Yes, sir.
So that's what the Alpha PAC, and we're having an event today here during the Congressional Black Caucus to underscore. We're gonna make some major announcement at that event.
Okay.
That's going to take the PAC even to a more higher level of engagement.
Well, that kind of speaks to my the question that I was going to ask. So I guess I can wait till later on for that announcement. But my question is, after seeing, so on Wednesday I saw some of the heads of the D9 at the Congressional Black Caucus, and there was a town hall kind of kickoff thing. When you speak of money, machine, and message, right? When it was announced that Vice President Harris would be the candidate, and you had those extreme mobilization efforts. You had the white men for Harris. You had the black women. You had the black men, and then a couple days later, Latinos. Then the white guys the following week, right? And huge efforts. Is with regards to PACs, the idea of a super PAC, right? D9 or otherwise, because everybody didn't go to school, college, and everybody's not in a Greek organization. But a lot of us understand the power of those networks. Would the idea of a super PAC, a collective situation, where the money from that machine is poured into a political action committee to get that message out in just a astronomical way that hasn't been done before? Like, is there conversation amongst D9 where it's like, hey man, a lot of us, we're doing these things on our own. We got credit unions, we got our own banks, blah blah blah. We got the numbers. Let's come together and do one thing at the same time. Is there any conversation around that?
Well, I'm pleased to announce and let you know that that's already in place.
There we go.
So one of the things that has happened is multiple things. All of the organizations that are fraternities, so all five of us have political action committees.
Got it.
All of the sororities now have political action committees. And so not in the name of the sororities or the fraternities do we strategize.
There we go.
But please know that we are working hand in glove together
Yes,
with our political action committees. So let me just give you an example.
Can you do me one favor?
Rochester is running for the. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold. We got to take a quick. We up against a hard break, so hold that example, and we'll come right back. We're gonna go straight to that. It's Urban View Mornings, 12 in front of the hour.
Thank you, Brother President.
Missed some of today's show? Want to hear it again? Favorite Urban View Mornings on the SiriusXM app to hear our latest episodes.
Season.
You're listening to Urban View Mornings with Greg Carr and Lamont King
on SiriusXM.
All right, welcome back. 8 minutes in front of the top of the hour. It's the Urban View Morning Show. Dr. Greg Carr, Lamont King, and you. And we're currently being joined by Dr. Everett Ward, who was once the vice chairman of the DNC Black Caucus, Democratic National Committee, former member, when he was the first African-American to serve as executive director of the North Carolina Democratic Party. And we were speaking about a collective effort of large black organizations, and you were prepared before the break to give an example of something that you're currently working on.
Yes, all of the fraternities and sororities now have their own political action committee. So that means you've got 9 political action committees, and we are working strategically together, and we are working our efforts together to elect the right people all across this country. And that is the first time that has happened. So it's a historical moment, but at the same time, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. We cannot get distracted and deviate from what the real agenda is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, also to that point, I've been in the building the last couple of days for the Congressional Black Caucus, and I've gone there over the years, at different points for different reasons. Can you speak to briefly the energy? I feel like this year is very different. The energy and the spirit surrounding, especially the night after the debate. The energy amongst the people, it has a different feel to it this year, and I was wondering if you got that sense as well.
I felt that energy, but what I really felt that made me, I've been coming to the Congressional Black Caucus since 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that has moved me is, yes, I feel the energy, I feel the laser focus on the mission focus, but we can't forget that we're building on a legacy here.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I was thinking about when I was walking around, I thought about someone like Shirley Chisholm and Ron Dellums and Bill Gray and how we have come so far from 1972 when it was founded. But I think we got to make sure we take that energy and we direct it in tangible, boots on the ground and dealing with public policy.
Yes.
After the debate, and I told everybody I'm excited too, but don't let excitement detract us from the mission at hand.
Yes, sir.
The mission at hand is to get her elected, and to also get folks elected down ballot, because if she doesn't have a House of Representatives or a Senate that can help implement the blueprint of progressive, inclusive government, then we got a bigger problem. You look at the country now where you got these Republican legislatures and these Republican governors who are trying to institutionalize oppressive government and oppressive strategies. We got to stay focused on what's important.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think we got to really go strategy, and you don't need to tell folks what we gonna do. Let them. I got a T-shirt that says "Take the fight to the polls."
Yes, sir.
That's what.
Dr. Ward, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I remember I want to ask you a question. As somebody who has been inside those rooms with the DNC, the news a couple of weeks ago that the Harris campaign is directing $24.5 million to down ballot elections, House, Senate, state legislatures, governor's house. How important is the party apparatus in funding some of this boots on the ground work, and what can those organizations that are grassroots organizations do to kind of supplement that kind of important money investment by the DNC?
Well, I think one of the first things you have to do is make sure that the local candidates down the ballot are receiving those resources for get out the vote, for message development, for communications, because all politics is local. So if I've got a state legislator or a county commissioner on the ballot, his race or her race is just as important as the president's race, because if that person does well, then the top of the ticket does well. Yes. And what we have to do is continue to impress upon the Democratic Party that they have to invest in local candidates and not wait until October. We got to be working 365 days of the year. Yeah. And we need to be working on 2025 now.
Right now. I appreciate it. Way to close it out.
Dr. Ward.
Dr. Everett Ward, former head of St. Aug's.
Yes.
Previous past president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Appreciate you
Fold of
for
the Alpha
taking
Pack.
time with us, man.
Thank you, Dr. Ward.
Good to see
No,
you.
thank you all for what you're doing to enlighten our people with substantive intellectual knowledge.